Good morning, everyone. We have been doing chapter 7 from part 1, which is dissolution of partnership form. The word form has not been written here by mistake. It is dissolution of partnership form in actual. This is our second lecture, which is again of theory. We've understood the definitions, meaning, and the difference between dissolution of partnership and dissolution of partnership firm in the previous lecture. We've also discussed about its weightage in the previous lecture. And today we are going to continue with theory again. As I said, this chapter is more into theory rather than practical sums. No doubt there are practical sums which consists of theory again in it and the journal entries. Alright? You should watch this lecture till end for complete understanding. And I hope you have studied the previous lecture. So the second lecture and the topic for today is the dissolution of partnership form. In the previous lecture, we've understood about the definition and meaning of dissolution of partnership and dissolution of partnership form. And in this lecture, we will undertake the study of important aspects of dissolution of partnership firm. We'll undertake study of accounting treatments for dissolution of a firm, or say dissolution of a partnership firm. Yes? So, it is the very first methods of dissolution of a firm, the first topic and the topic for today, that is methods of dissolution of a firm. The next one is legal and other provisions for accounting settlement of dissolution. Then lastly, the procedure of dissolution. Of these three, the topic here for today is methods of dissolution of firm. It is given on page number 276 of your textbook. The topic is methods of dissolution of a firm, an important topic for a short question of theory of 3 marks. I repeat, this is an important concept of theory which is likely to be asked for 3 marks in your exam. As I said, there will be 2 short questions which can be sum or a theory. So, the important topic of theory is here. It is methods of dissolution of firm. As per Indian Partnership Act 1932, there are 2 methods for dissolution of partnership firm. This can also be a VSQ, that how many methods are there for dissolution of partnership firm? You say 2. There are 2 methods. The very first, which is normal dissolution or dissolution without interference of court. The very first method. And the second method is dissolution by court. So let us study the first method of dissolution, which is normal dissolution, or say dissolution without interference of court. It is given on page number 276 of your textbook. I have presented the necessary head points here. If you want to go in detail, it is given in your textbook. Okay, so the very first point under the first method of dissolution is by agreement. I hope you know the meaning of dissolution. Yes, the end of existence. So this is the first method for the same, and the first point is by agreement. This means when all the partners agree to dissolve the firm, partnership firm can be dissolved at any point of time, and it is considered to be the voluntary dissolution. Alright? This simply means the partners of a partnership firm, if they will all agree among themselves that yes, we are willing to dissolve the firm, then partnership firm can be dissolved at any point of time if all the partners will agree among themselves, and hence it is also said to be a voluntary dissolution. Voluntary is according to your willingness, आपकी इच्छा से. Alright. The second point is dissolution as per contract. You know very well the meaning of the word, dissolution. Yes, it is dissolution as per contract and not the act. It has been misprinted or by mistake it is written act. It is dissolution as per contract. Alright. I repeat, the second point is dissolution as per contract, and there is also a point dissolution as per act actually. So if we follow the order in your textbook, so by mistake it is written dissolution as per act, which is the third point, and by mistake the second point has been skipped here. So let us understand that, and also we'll understand the third point again. So dissolution as per contract, it is dissolution of a partnership firm on the basis of predetermined contract between the partners. So simply speaking, if there is any sort of contract among the partners, and at the end of that contract, the dissolution of partnership firm will take place. Now, talking about dissolution as per act. The second point has not been written here by mistake. If you are having your textbook with you, it is possible for you to understand. Otherwise, pay attention to what I'm speaking. Even then you will understand. So we have understood the first point, that is by agreement, and the second point dissolution as per contract, and the second point presented here dissolution as per act, which is actually the third point in your textbook. So there are two conditions under dissolution as per act, of which the first is when all partners of the firm become insolvent, or except one, all partners become insolvent. Whenever this type of situation arises, that means all the partners of the partnership firm will become insolvent, Now, what does the word insolvent mean? This is a very common word, and if you don't know the meaning of this word, you should please Google this. Yes? So they say that when all the partners become insolvent, that is financially incapable, simple words, still you will Google this for a better understanding. Or they say, except one, everyone becomes insolvent. In such case, the dissolution takes place. And the second condition under this heading is when business of firm becomes illegal, and that too brings end to the partnership firm. Obviously, you cannot carry out any activity, any business activity which is illegal. Illegal is the one not permitted by government. So once the business starts dealing with illegal activities, it is to be dissolved, it is to be brought to an end. The next point, dissolution on happenings of certain contingencies. Again, we have 2 points to understand here. If constituted for a fixed term, by the expiry of that term, say for example, the partnership firm comes into existence for a fixed term, fixed period of time. Yes, so on completion, on expiry of that term or that particular time, the dissolution takes place. Then, if the partnership firm was framed, was constituted for carrying out a specific aim, particular task, so on completion of that particular task, the dissolution takes place. Yes? Alright then, talking about the 4th point, dissolution by notice. When the partnership is at will, the firm may be dissolved by giving any prior notice in writing to other partners of the partner's intention to dissolve the firm. I hope you know the meaning of the word if the partnership is at will. Yes. So if any of the partner is having intention to dissolve the firm, to end the firm, then the partner can give notice in writing to all the other partners with his intention to dissolve the firm. And the firm is dissolved as from the date mentioned in the notice as the date of dissolution, or if no date is mentioned, then it will be dissolved from the date of the service of the notice. In simple words, if the partnership is at will, any of the partner, if he desires to dissolve the firm, the partner will give a notice in writing to all the partners of his intentions to dissolve the firm, and the firm will dissolve on a particular date mentioned in the notice, and in case if the date is not mentioned, it will be dissolved from the date of service of the notice. Alright? So, here is the second method for dissolution, which is dissolution by court. We are dealing with the topic of methods of dissolution of firm. We've understood the first method, normal dissolution, consisting of 5 points, of which one is missing here by mistake. And now we are going to understand the second method of dissolution, which is dissolution by the court. Alright? Now this method can also be asked separately. Your question can be like, explain the normal dissolution or dissolution without interference of court. Otherwise, the question can also be, explain the method of dissolution by the court. Yes? The separate question even can be asked. So let us see which is the first point under this method. Firstly, dissolution by court simply means that the firm will be dissolved as per the orders of the court. The first point is, when any partner becomes of unsound mind, now what does this mean? This simply means that the partner loses its mental balance. So during this time, the court can give orders to dissolve the firm. Second point says, when a partner becomes permanently incapable of performing his duties as a partner. If a partner becomes permanently incapable, this is a very simple point. You can continue any sort of activity only if you are capable of doing the same. If you aren't capable of discharging your duties properly, then obviously you are removed. So similarly, when any of the partner becomes incapable of performing his duties as a partner, the court can give orders to dissolve the firm. The third point says, when a partner undertakes misconduct against partnership firm or against business of a firm. Now understand a simple thing. When you visit a school, there are several rules that you are supposed to follow, and about all the rules you are instructed well in advance. So you are aware that which are the things I am supposed to do, which are the rules I am supposed to follow, which simply means that there are several things prohibited. This simply means that you are not supposed to break the rules. You are not supposed to do any sort of activity which is not allowed in school. Similarly, there are several rules and regulations to be followed once a partner enters into a partnership firm. So now, if a partner undertakes a misconduct against partnership firm or against business of firm, in such circumstances, the court can give orders to dissolve the firm. Alright? The next point says, when a partner willfully and persistently breaches the partnership agreement, there is always an agreement among the partners, which is mostly written agreement, which is said to be partnership deed. It consists of every information about profit sharing ratio of partners, amount of capital, interest on capital, the value of goodwill, admission, retirement, terms related to the same, everything. And if any of the partner breaks the partnership agreement, yes, which is against the code of conduct of partnership firm, the situation might arise to dissolve the firm as per the orders of court. Next, when a partner transfers his whole interest in the partnership to the third party without the consent of other partners. Say for example, there are three partners, that is A, B and C, working together in a partnership firm. So you know very well, once you work together, the decisions are to be taken mutually, with mutual understanding and with the consent, that is permission of all. So now if any of the partners, any one out of A, B and C will transfer his entire share of interest to third party without the consent of other partners, this leads to dissolution. Yes, you cannot do that without taking permission of other partners. Why? Because you work together in a partnership firm. So the decisions are to be taken mutually. Next point is when a firm continuously incurs loss and is unable to run a business due to loss. Obviously, if the firm is making loss every year, so any activity making loss cannot be continued for a longer period of time. It needs to be closed. It needs to be shut. So when a firm continuously incurs losses and because of that reason it is unable to run a business, that time the firm needs to be dissolved. Obviously, who is willing to continue an activity resulting in loss every time, again and again? Nobody. So it needs to be dissolved. Over and above this, the points that we have studied, except this, if the court finds any other ground to be just and equitable for the dissolution of the firm, the court can give orders to dissolve the firm. This simply means that the points which were presented here, even over and above these points, if there is any other reason that the court finds suitable for dissolution, the court can give necessary orders in such a case. Alright? So, we are done with the methods of dissolution of firm. Let us check what is your homework for today. It is methods of dissolution of a firm that you have to write down once in your fair book in detail. In detail means what? Not only the sub-points but also the explanation is what I mean. Yes? You can see here the topic for today that we have considered is dissolution of partnership firm and its accounting treatments. So the very first aspect is methods of dissolution of firm. The topic that we have understood and studied in today's video lecture. There are two methods, normal dissolution and dissolution by the court. Yes? We have understood normal dissolution, and as I said, it is given on page number 276 of your textbook, and we have subheadings under this method which are overall 5, and by mistake here only 4 headings are presented, but I have explained all the 5 during the lecture. So what you are supposed to do is, once you study this video lecture, after this you will read all these points in detail given to you in your textbook, and you will write it down in detail again once in your fair books. Alright? The second method, that is dissolution by the code, obviously we have also understood the points related to this method. Overall, there are 7 points to this method. Yes, and we have understood thoroughly and well. You need to write down these points in your fair book, and also you need to learn this topic, because as I said that in short questions, the 2 short questions from this chapter can be a sum. Either can be a theory. 2 sums, it can be sum and theory. Most of your practical sums even consists of theory questions. The journal entries and etc., whatever you will study needs a strong base for the theory concepts presented in the beginning of this lectures and today's lecture, of course. And as I said, the methods can be asked separately also, that explain the normal procedure of dissolution, or explain dissolution, explain the method of dissolution by the code. So it is extremely important for you to go through the entire lecture carefully, study the same. Yes, let us see once more quickly that what we have done. Of course, as I said that we have been doing chapter 7 from part 1, dissolution of partnership firm, and this is the second lecture of theory. The first lecture we have understood the meaning and definition etc. of dissolution of firm and dissolution of partnership firm. We have also understood the difference, and I hope you have studied the first video lecture before watching this lecture. And as I have been instructing in each and every video lecture that you will watch all the lectures, you will study all the lectures completely till end. Otherwise it creates lots of confusion. The topic we took today was methods of dissolution of firm, and in the next lecture our topic is going to be legal and other provisions for accounting settlement of dissolution, and last, the procedure of dissolution. We are going to understand these 2 topics in the next lecture. So in next lecture we will be done with the accounting aspects of dissolution of partnership firm. The 3 points I mentioned here, alright, of which one, that is first, methods of dissolution of firm, is completed today. The 2 methods, these are the head points. The 5 head points are presented in your textbook. You will read them in detail. You will write it in detail again in your fair book. This is the second method, dissolution by the code. You have 7 points, of which 3 are here and 4 points are here presented on your screen. You will study this very carefully. You will try to learn, and you will also write this in your fair book. I repeat, in detail. The first method only head points are presented in this lecture, but you have to write it in detail from your textbook. So here is your homework. Study well and stay home. We'll see you all soon in the next session.